some more about this story from Florida. The parents of the accused Tampa serial killer now looking at possible charges themselves after refusing to cooperate and speak with investigators. A Florida judge threatening to hold them in civil contempt. And here now to weigh in is criminal defense attorney Bob Bianchi. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So here's where the the case stands at this point. Howell Donaldson, he has been accused in the serial killing, and he's charged with 4 counts of premeditated murder with a firearm.
Right.
His parents were subpoenaed, but they're refusing to testify against him. So what can happen to them?
Okay, so Heather, what's happening here as a former homicide prosecutor is that this is a potential death penalty case. And the prosecutors are required by law to look at aggravating and mitigating factors as a requirement as to whether they're going to file the death penalty. So they want to find out from these parents, what's his mental health? What was he going through at the time? Are there mitigating factors that would justify not imposing the death penalty? So they want to find this information. They issued a subpoena. They refuse to cooperate. They don't have a privilege and they don't have any immunities under the law. They must comply with the subpoena, and they haven't done that. So essentially what the court did, based on the prosecutor's application, is to say, Judge, this is a court-ordered subpoena. It's really a court document. They refuse to comply, and we want you either to fine them or put them in jail until the time they do comply. I've actually had cases like this as a homicide prosecutor where people have refused to cooperate. We put them in jail until the time that they're willing to comply.
And usually they do. They comply.
They
at
usually
that point.
do. It may take them a little time to do that, but they eventually get to that place.
And the judge involved in the case of Margaret Taylor, she's ordered the parents to appear in court next month.
Yeah, this judge is going a little slow because obviously she understands, the judges, that these people are family members, they're parents. We all understand the sympathy of that. Basically giving them time to say, talk to your lawyers, calm down, understand what the consequences are, come back in January. If you haven't complied, you're going to have to give me a good explanation, of which there will not be one here. Prosecutors have a lot of power with this subpoena, and if you don't comply at that point in time, I'm going to impose sanctions to force you to comply.
Are there situations where family members do have immunity?
There are some instances that they would. For example, a spousal immunity is there, or attorney-client privilege, which isn't necessarily a family member. But as far as a parent and a child, there is no recognizable privilege that prevents a parent from giving information about a child.
Well, that's interesting that would be the case, but yet there are spousal privileges.
There are spousal privileges. There's the patient doctor privilege, there's the attorney-client privilege. So these privileges are listed in the evidence rules, and they're very specific as to what they are, but there is none for parents. So they have to comply. And
if the parents still continue to refuse to do that, I mean, that could put the entire case in jeopardy? You
know, I got to tell you what, I had one time where, because the judge was a female and these people came from a different country, they refused to testify in court with a female judge. The judge ordered them in jail for 6 months. They spent the 6 months. They still refused to comply. After about a year, the judge finally just said, you know what, I'm going to have to release them from jail. But I don't think it's going to get to that place. Most times, eventually, the parents are going to wind up cooperating with law enforcement.
All right. Bob, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll see what happens, and we'll have you back.